Hi everyone, if you like what I do, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and consider checking out my Patreon. Enjoy the video. Set amongst a vast wasteland, only occupied by the mindless and dead, lies a last and only civilization, Hallownest. Once said to be the eternal kingdom, the land now stands silent, a fading visage of what had once been, a fate brought about by those who could not see beyond their own untempered ambitions. Had they foreseen the true result of their actions though, then their hands may have been stayed, for maybe it had not just been Hallownest doomed by the hubris of would-be gods and false idols, but the once shining lands beyond, now fallen only to darkness. By the lizards long ago, however, saw the terrain can be extremely dangerous. Right, time to die. It is said that in the time before the coming of the Pale King, a tribe of moths deified and worshipped the great Radiance, which shone down upon the land that would become Hallownest. The Radiance would bring life to all she touched, having moulded the moths in her own image, and blessing all that dwelt beneath her with the gift of light and warmth. Her reach did not end there, however, for it could have been that this Radiance, the eternal star that she was, had been the one true primordial being, her influence stretching far beyond the borders of Hallownest, bringing life to every corner of the world, beyond even what are now considered the wastelands. Could it have been that these wastes had not always been the desolate, windswept plains known to the bugs of Hallownest, but a place just as lush and vibrant as anywhere else in the world, crisscrossed by trails bustling with merchants and travellers alike? As assured as the Radiance's everlasting light had seemed to be though, so too was the inevitability of change. In time, the great pale worm would come to rest at the edge of the moth's domain, its rotting carcass transforming the land around it into its own barren waste of ash and moult. It would quickly become clear, however, that this was far from the only impact that the pale creature would have on the world. Seeking to elevate itself, the pale being would take a form more suitable to interact with the creatures of this land, and use its great power to expand their minds to that of sapience. With this, he would come to rule over the bugs of the fledgling Hallownest as the Pale King, becoming like a god to them. But what of the true god? The Radiance that forever watched over the Pale Kingdom. Slowly the bugs of Hallownest would forget about her, taking her gifts for granted, and in time, even the moth's loyalty would be usurped by the Pale King. Seeing the life she had created turn away from her, the Radiance did all she could to be remembered by the bugs and regain their loyalty, but the effort she exerted only resulted in the infection, a plague of madness and corruption that twisted and killed the bugs she sought to enthrall. In an attempt to protect his kingdom, the Pale King chose to capture the Radiance and lock her away. By doing this, not only would the infection she caused be stemmed, but he would finally be free to stand alone as the one true god. Arduous as the task was to accomplish, the Pale King with the White Lady at his side would succeed in locking away the Radiance, but what they did not see was that this one single action would usher forth a catastrophe even greater than that threatened by the infection. With the Radiance sealed away, imprisoned within a realm of dreams, the world fell into a perpetual darkness, growing cold and desolate. Bugs that had been elevated by the Radiance's light descended into madness, becoming mindless feral creatures, and those who were lucky enough to escape this fate only met their end in the fierce storms that ravaged the wastes, whipped up in the absence of the Radiance's calming light. In short order, the world outside Hallownest became a savage wilderness, with the kingdom sustained only by the king's own pale light, a bastion of civilization within a dying world. But soon this too would fade, as the infection inevitably began to seep from the Radiance's hollow prison, a place where she had continued to shine eternal, bathing the dreamlands in her corrupting brilliance. It is told, though, that there were other such islands of civilization, potentially supported by their own god king, known only to those who dared to traverse the howling wastes. Suffice to say, such a journey could only be attempted by individuals of great resolve, for the minds of lesser bugs would surely break without the guidance of a heavenly light. But then, it may have been that some stoic enough to travel the wastes were not beings of radiant or even pale light, but those of abyssal void. Forsaken children of the Pale King himself, drawn back to Hallownest to again seal away the Radiance. Regardless of their efforts, however, the prison would be forever imperfect, and one day the choice had to be made to allow the Radiance her freedom, allowing her to shine once more upon the land, undoing the damage her absence caused, but risk her retribution, and the endless spread of the infection, or to simply destroy her, let the abyss extinguish her light, and doom the world, and all in it, to an everlasting night. Having utilized Void for his own ends, the Pale King had seemingly formed an unspoken pact with the Abyss, unwittingly making the decision to forsake the light, and with it all life in Hallownest and beyond. Then, of course, it is not to say that the Pale Being's entire time as king was not in service of an even greater goal, and that the Radiance's death is merely a means to become something even greater, for the world may no longer be destined to bathe in radiant light, but that of a pale god. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked what you saw, then please consider liking the video, subscribing and sharing it with your friends. If you want to support the channel even more, then head over to Patreon, become a channel member or buy some merch. Links are all down in the description. I hope you all have a great day and I'll see you next time.